This is KTUL, Tulsa's Channel 8 News at 10.
The countdown is on to the first day of school, and as teachers prepare for back to school, one instructor is moving across the world for a new classroom, a new start. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kim Jackson. Channel 8's Lauren Partain is live in our newsroom now to tell us how the teacher walkout was the final straw. Lauren?
Kim, imagine packing up your entire family and moving not just out of the state, but across the world. That's what one teacher is about to do, hoping when she comes back, Oklahoma's education will have improved. After 3 years of living in this house, it's time for Sierra Thompson and her family to start a new adventure.
Don't realize you keep so many memories hanging around the house. It's difficult.
She's leaving her 9th grade teaching job at Bixby Public Schools and heading overseas.
I will be teaching 6th and 7th grade English in Abu Dhabi, so it'll be a new middle school adventure.
She made the decision shortly after the teacher walkout.
I felt like, you know, this is kind of a lost cause and it's time to move on.
And so she did. The perks of her new job, something unimaginable to her here in Oklahoma.
The first thing that stood out to me, I was like, so how many kids are in a class? And he was like, so we have around 20 to 25 per class. And I was just like, dreams come true. I'm used to having 32 to 34. I can actually improve their writing and give better feedback.
The same care she believes teachers there will provide for her own son.
So I'm not sure how challenged he would be here in kindergarten, but I know going there now, like, he is going to be challenged.
With trinkets from her former students tucked away in her suitcase.
In case things get difficult, I have something to look at.
She knows this is something she has to do for her family.
It's really hard to cram your whole life into 8 suitcases.
Hopeful when they get back, things will be better.
This is where we want to be when we return, and we really are hoping that people will be taking these things seriously and working to better our school systems.
Thompson is flying out August 12th. She has a 3-year contract in Abu Dhabi. Live in the newsroom, Lauren Partain, Tulsa's Channel 8.
Thank you, Lauren. Tonight, investigators are now looking at data from a duck boat's data record after it capsized, killing 17 people this week. And the owner of Ride the Ducks voluntarily shutting down operations for now. This as a woman who lost 9 family members that day shares her story. She says that she's thankful for the brave souls who stepped up to help.
These beautiful people, angels, I don't know who they were. They pulled me up. And when they pulled me up from the boat, I didn't see any of my family. But I believe I survived by God and by Good Samaritans.
Coleman said the weather was calm when the tour started, but knew the storm was coming, and she didn't hear an emergency announcement before the boat went under. Now to breaking news in California. The suspect in a hostage situation at a Trader Joe's now in custody. A woman now dead. ABC's Elizabeth Hurd takes us through exactly what happened.
The dramatic hostage situation in California coming to a peaceful end.
Gunman released a number of hostages as well and continued in his remarks with us.
The suspect exiting the store already handcuffed along with 4 hostages.
That dialogue resulted in ultimately him handcuffing himself and coming outside and surrendering to SWAT officers approximately 3 hours after this horrific ordeal began.
Police had surrounded the Trader Joe's market in the Silver Lake neighborhood of Los Angeles earlier in the day.
Shots fired. An officer needs help. Monroe and Hyperion. Shots fired.
The incident began as a police pursuit in Hollywood.
We had a male suspect in his late teens become involved in a family dispute, which resulted in him shooting his grandmother and a female at scene. That suspect fled the location in his grandmother's vehicle, taking that female victim with him.
Officers spotted the vehicle, the suspect leading police on a chase, firing at officers before eventually crashing his car into a pole. He then fled into a nearby Trader Joe's market.
Like a mad dash, people were, that were in the front of the store started coming towards the back of the store where the exit was. So we assisted them, all the crew members, helped everybody out in a safe and orderly fashion.
Some people running out of the store to safety, others using a ladder to escape out of a window, and later, more people seen exiting the front door with their hands up as the SWAT team stood with their guns drawn. When it was all over, one person was confirmed dead and the suspect loaded into an ambulance. The Trader Joe's employees embracing each other, relieved. Elizabeth Herr, ABC News, New York.
A man is now behind bars after admitting to drinking a half a pint of Fireball before crashing on a busy highway. It happened on the Broken Arrow Expressway near Mingo. Here's a picture from Mick Dodson. Police believe that it started when a driver speeding at an estimated 100 miles per hour hit the back of another car. The third car was hit by one or both of the other car, which spun out. One of the cars caught fire. No one was seriously hurt. The driver, who was reportedly speeding, was arrested as police looked into the possibility of a DUI.
Now, from the Oklahoma Ford Storm Center, your first warning forecast.
Good evening. It was a sunny and hot day across Green Country. In fact, we hit 100 degrees here in Tulsa. Across the rest of the area, most of us were in the 90s, 102 in Muskogee. Now, the good news is we have cooled down. Most of us are in the 80s. Some of us are in the 70s. Grove right now is 72. Don't get too jealous because all of us are going to be in the lower 70s by tomorrow morning. Some of us might even drop into the 60s. Now, our winds are going to be calm and we're not forecasting any showers, so it's going to be a great start to your day tomorrow. I'll have your full forecast coming up in a couple of minutes. Kim?
Thank you, Caroline. Fire crews dealing with that heat as they helped put out a grass fire in Turley. Turley, Sperry, and Tulsa crews teamed up to battle the blaze. No homes or buildings were in danger. 2 firefighters were checked out by IMSA because of the high temperatures. Members of the Turley Fire Department asked that people donate water and Gatorade to their local fire departments because of them having to fight flames in such extreme heats. Fire crews also battling the heat and flames in southwest Oklahoma this weekend. A wildfire north of Cyril has burned hundreds of acres, but the rocky terrain and the heat made it hard for crews to reach the fire, meaning some homes were destroyed. For one family, it was much more than a house that was lost.
5 of us, we grew up here. My mom and dad have passed, but my brother lives in this house, and it was horrible. It was an awful, sickening feeling.
The fire chief says they have not determined exactly what caused that fire just yet. They do expect the fire to smolder for days once it is officially out. One teenager is dead tonight, and at least one other young person could now face charges. Police say the suspect, a 17-year-old young man, fatally stabbed the 18-year-old victim near 5100 North Rockford. But leading up to that, a huge fight in the street, the suspect running from a crowd of teens and then ending up with the stabbing near 1300 North Peoria. Friends of the victim tried to drive him to a hospital, but they turned it over to IMSA after a short drive. Everyone involved, all teens, even the suspect arrested, accused now of first-degree murder. Safety and security now a concern at some businesses in a South Tulsa neighborhood, but a city councilor hopes to change all that. Police get several calls a week from businesses near 61st and Peoria because of fights, drugs, or large crowds. Well, it's a problem that could put people in harm's way. The city council passed an ordinance requiring businesses to set safety standards like having cameras and well-lit parking lots.
We've got to come up with a better plan to make sure that businesses are safe and secure and not depending on city resources to do that for businesses.
The ordinance will be enforced when police are called to the business 3 or more times over a 2-year span. The business then has to go before a board and present a safety plan. Tonight, backlash brewing in Washington following the FBI released document about Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. The foreign surveillance warrant application for him, the warrant was approved in 2016 and renewed several times. It was released after a lawsuit. Meanwhile, the president responded to his former attorney to the news that his former attorney taped a conversation with him about a payment to a former Playboy model. Trump tweeting in part, quote, "Inconceivable that a lawyer would tape a client."
The tapes made by Michael Cohen could be a goldmine for prosecutors because they are Trump's own voice, and that is the most powerful evidence in any trial.
Prosecutors are investigating Cohen to see if there were any violations of federal campaign finance laws. Would you know if you were having a heat stroke? 8's on your side with ways to recognize one and how you can help yourself avoid one.
It was dangerously hot today. I'll let you know if there's a cool down in sight, plus our next rain chances.
And a man couldn't believe what he saw in his toilet, how he was able to get a snake out of it without having to touch it. When we come back.
This week on Full Measure, Hollywood hypocrisy. We dig into the ugly side of the entertainment industry after a flood of sexual assault allegations. Plus, is our military doing enough to stop sexual harassment in the workplace? A report raises serious concerns and a possible solution. And new signs that ISIS is seeking to establish a caliphate or independent state in the Philippines. We were there and take you to the new front on terror. Those stories and more this week on Full Measure.
You won't believe what a Virginia man found hiding in his toilet. That's right, a snake, a live one. The man and his wife called the roommate who had the idea to use a fishing pole, looping the end around the snake's neck to catch it. Then they put it in a bucket until animal control could get there. It turns out the snake was someone's pet who'd been missing it for 2 weeks. Well, now the snake is back home in a more secure enclosure. There's a first time for everything, including for these Army veterans. They are trying noodling for the first time ever, all thanks to Swamp Donkey Noodling and Dalton Gang Outdoors. Both businesses came together to donate a troop to wounded veterans of Oklahoma, giving these men an experience they will never forget.
It's a fish, yet terrifying. I'd rather be in Iraq. You know, they make it look easy, so you get your confidence built up, but it's still scary to stick your hand in the hole and get bit.
It sounds like it. The owner of Dalton Gang Outdoors donates a trip to a nonprofit every year. He says while he never joined the military, his noodling partner did, so he wanted to honor those who served. AT&T is adding 3 cities to its 5G network service this year, including one right here in Oklahoma. Charlotte, Raleigh, and Oklahoma City are the latest addition. The company plans to bring the mobile service to a dozen cities this year. AT&T says it wants to bring it to mid-size and large cities to avoid a digital divide. Most 5G compatible phones are expected to come out next year. If you were to come down with heat exhaustion or even a heat stroke, would you know what to do? Well, there are several steps ER doctors say you should take right away. David Caltabiano with our sister station is on your side tonight with life-saving advice.
Whether it's playing basketball, going on a run, or taking a nice walk with a shaded umbrella, your health should be top of mind in the brutal South Texas heat.
We've seen people coming in with temperatures of 108, 109 degrees.
Dr. Bruce Adams works in emergency rooms at University Hospital and treats the devastating toll of heat stroke.
When organs of your body start to shut down, and it's a life-threatening illness, it is shock. It is more dangerous than a heart attack. It is more dangerous than a gunshot wound.
And in this heat, anyone is vulnerable. The young, the healthy, and the elderly. So how can you tell if you're on the verge of a fatal heat stroke?
One of the classic signs we see is when you stop sweating.
Dr. Adams says if that happens, you need to find a way to cool your body down, and quick.
Get out of danger. Get yourself into a cool, shady area. Get some loose clothing on. Take off some of your clothing and get wet. You've got to get that heat load off your body.
He says putting water on your body is just as important as drinking it.
And at that point, you can almost think of heat as a poison. You got to get it out of the body.
Temperatures continue to soar this summer, so Dr. Adams wants you to remember these tips. He says it can be the difference between life and death.
Now, if you still feel uneasy after trying to cool down with water, Dr. Adams urges you to call 911 and to see a doctor. Of course, the heat has just been brutal this past week, but Caroline, we might see a bit of a cool down, right?
In the mornings, if you wake up early, you might see a cool down, but unfortunately not a big cool down anytime soon. In fact, check out how hot it was today. We had an IMSA medical heat alert today, and that means 5 people called in with heat-related illnesses. In fact, IMSA has replied to more heat-related illnesses in 2018 than they did for the entire 2017. Now, here's the good news. We have been cool.